everyone, the 6.5 is on the road here in Las Vegas, Nevada at VMware Explore 2025. We're coming off the big main stage session, general session here at the event. Great keynote. Hock Tan kicked it off. And of course, you're going to see that video out later. But this video is another one that I'm very excited about. One of the keynotes, the main stagers, Paul Turner, a regular now. This is not your first time with us here on the 6.5. Join us to talk a little bit about all the announcements. And you had a lot to share today.
Yeah, it's actually really exciting. You know, if you just think about what we promised to deliver VCF 9 a year ago on the same stage, we delivered on that promise, and customers are already seeing the results. I mean, that's the first thing we were showing is just successful customer implementations, and they're seeing the value as they kind of move to the private cloud because, you know, it gives them the security, gives them the privacy, gives them the control they need for their environment. But more important, we've got the ability now for IT operations to scale and manage environments with fleet lifecycle, with the ability to manage certificates, to do central operations and monitoring. All of that actually delivered in VCF 9. So delivered on a promise and delivered a lot more today.
Yeah, Hock talked about those 3 friction points. You know, you had the developer versus IT. You sort of broke that. Now they work together, no problem.
Yeah.
You know, you had the speed and security challenges. And of course, that's one of the things that on-prem and doing it, you know, in your data centers can actually offer a number of advantages, and the economics, of course, which we didn't quite get into those 3 friction points. And the third one, of course, upgrading the legacy, moving from the past to the future. So he hit on those, but you hit on a whole bunch of other things. And of course you did. You marched out some big customers. You flashed the big Walmart sign, but you also brought some customers to the table too that were maybe more relatable, because not every company out there is the size of a Walmart.
Right, they're not.
But it seems that they're sticking. That 9 out of 10 number, the 9 out of 10 of the biggest.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, coming out of this deal, Paul, there was a lot of sort of speculation that long tail would run away, maybe, you know, because Hock kind of came out from the beginning and said, we're going to really focus on platform.
Yeah. And
it turns out that you are seeing customers move to the platform, but customers are also sticking with you and kind of moving at their own pace. It seems like a lot of good things are happening.
Yeah. Well, if you think about the company that we had on stage today, Grinnell, they're, you know, kind of a relatively mid-sized kind of company. They're out of the Midwest, you know, But for them, they could actually scale. They don't have a large IT staff. They have a very, very small IT staff. But, you know, VCF actually gives them the ability to actually scale. They have one security person doing all the security operations across their platform. All the enforcement and codification and ratification of their security profiles on their infrastructure is all done through VCF. So, you know, it's not just, you know, we trump out, you know, the Walmart of the world, as you saw today, you know, number one company who is committed to us on VCF, but it's not just for the big customers, it's for smaller customers too. And I will note, we have not changed in terms of this is delivered anywhere. It's a private cloud delivered in your data center, but also in public cloud. So we're actually work very well with the hyperscalers, work very well. We actually just announced with AWS, platinum sponsor here, but actually just delivered a cloud as a service with their new EVS service.
Yep.
We have Oracle services, we've Google, we've Microsoft, and all of our service providers, CSPs, cloud service providers. So yeah, it's very exciting, but whether you want to run as a smaller company up on a CSP, hyperscaler cloud, whether you're running your own data center, it is not just for big enterprises.
There's a lot of this sort of zero sum. Everything's going public cloud.
Right.
No enterprise looks like that.
Right.
Everything being on-prem. Very few enterprises look like that anymore either, right? There's just too many reasons to use both. And I think the platform, and what I like about it a lot, kind of my analyst speak, is that there's really very little or no compromise, meaning that, you know, the cloud has a lot of value, the public cloud, because it has all the services.
Right.
But with what you're building with VCF 9, you're saying we do too.
Yep.
And of course, the economics and the scale and other things. Talk just a little bit for the audience out there, though, about what the innovations were in 9.0 from, I think it was 5.2 when you jumped to 9.
Yeah, we jumped to 9. We jumped to 9.
I appreciate you skipping all those other numbers.
We didn't really skip all the interim numbers. We decided to follow kind of the vSphere version numbering because it was more broadly known. And so we just kind of followed suit with that. But, it's very important to actually note it is an upgrade for customers. It's not like a rip and replace. I have to set up something new. No, they can get to it from their current environment. They just can upgrade. It's upgrade in place. All of that is very easy. But what is VCF 9? It helps their IT team scale, as I mentioned earlier. Fleet management, life cycle, cert management, all the things that were kind of pain in the butt, honestly, for the IT admins. We've really simplified in 9. But it's not just about that. It's also about the efficiency we can build off the platform. We've always been known about how can we drive more cost out of that hardware infrastructure, right? How can we get more efficiency and more use of it? And we bring in memory tiering into 9. Memory is one of the most expensive resources as you look at bringing DDR5 memory. DDR5 memory is not cheaper than DDR4. It's more expensive. We can bring down the price, right? And that's great because you load up a server with a terabyte of memory, you're paying a lot for that memory, half the cost of the server. We bring GPU efficiency, the ability for us to take a GPU resource and be able to kind of not just use that resource, slice that resource, so sub-slice it so you can actually use it for different parts of the application, be able to do non-disruptive vMotion. So now I can actually take DRS, move applications directly onto a pool of GPUs, dynamically manage those GPUs and move workloads around totally non-disruptively to the AI applications that are running on top. PyTorch, 70 billion parameter Llama model, and we can vMotion it without any impact. So these are kind of the core. It's what we've always done. Get the most efficiency out of hardware. We're getting the most efficiency out of CPUs, we're getting the most efficiency out of GPUs, and we're getting the most efficiency out of memory. We get the most efficiency out of resource. So vSAN with global deduplication that we've added into it, so many features that we've actually put into 9.
Yeah, and you added support for AMD. I saw, you had Intel, you had a partnership, private AI with NVIDIA. Yeah. Of course, keep thinking about this inflection that's changing how IT teams work. It's changing how developers build. AI is a really important moment. And that was one of the things I heard from the keynote, from you, from Hawk, from the customers, because they're also having to align for private AI. A year ago, you came out and you talked about private AI here at the event. But with VCF 9, it seemed that you've really worked to accelerate it. I just want you to double click, because I heard a little bit in that last day, you started kind of talking, just double click a little bit, because I think if I'm an ITDM right now, if I'm making a decision about what I'm buying and where I'm going to go, whether I'm going to platform, stay with VMware platform, move to the cloud, all the things, I'm thinking a lot about AI, because that's the board initiative, that's the imperative, that's what the boss is asking for.
Yeah. Well, I think the key thing is that we weren't here today just to talk about what we have in VCF 9. We're actually sharing where we're going roadmap-wise and what's actually in development and actually ready for delivery very soon. So we think the customers, for sure, there's a lot of AI applications you need to deliver on public cloud and public cloud services. But your data is your data. And as you drive, kind of AI at scale within your enterprise, and you look at improving your customer service, you look at improving your coding for code assistance for your engineers, you look at improving the legal documents and search and analysis, doing that with a very simple public model, doing final fine-tuning and RAG tuning, all on top of VCF and incorporated into VCF, is really powerful. Now it's all free, included in the VCF license.
Yeah, that's a lot of expanded capability. I heard a lot, both from the stage, a little bit even in the comments you've made so far, about sort of developer autonomy. The idea that, Hawk said a lot when we were talking about kind of how developers wanted to work versus how IT wants to work. But I mean, with what you're doing, you've added, talk a little bit about the features and capabilities that have given that developer autonomy without creating that, typical friction that it would have with IT.
Well, and the typical friction, we should understand the way IT organizations work today. It's understandable. As you look at an IT infrastructure, I have to actually deliver a platform for an application. I've got to deliver compute, storage, networking. Those today are different teams inside an IT. And so what you need to do is actually separate the policy and how can I actually get and allow self-service for IT organizations. So codification of those policies so that development teams can work independent of IT. IT can optimize the infrastructure on the back end. They continuously tune. They can look at sharing GPUs, as we just mentioned.
Yep.
But developers should be more autonomous, and that's the key. So what have we done about that? We actually built a whole platform so that you can, into VCF, so that you can do full code. We call it path to production, being able to take a piece of code, develop it, push all of that code into your Git system. It's GitOps, effectively. Take your Git system, tie in CI/CD pipeline so that you actually take your application, you build your application, you do your test validation of your application, you push it into production. All of that based on open source tools that developers want to use. I mean, and we can do that because we've built a whole multi-site, multi-region Kubernetes offering built into the platform. On top of that, we've added capabilities so that you can do function as a service, you can do container management, you've got all of the Harbor registry service, you've got a Valero backup service, you've got Prometheus monitoring services, all the services you need for developers to actually build applications and run them on a platform are included. It's all part of what we call vSphere Kubernetes service. And it gives you the simplest way to actually run agile applications because from an IT organization, they can now just make it available out to those tenants. And each of the tenants get their own resource view. You'll notice that today we shared all of those services that IT can make available to a developer. It's like going to a cloud. It's going to AWS. They see their databases that are available to them as a service. They see their Kubernetes service. They're able to set their firewall rules and settings. They're able to provision VMs or containers. All of that is actually there today in 9. And what we were showing is actually really, really powerful. So developers can push button, take applications, deliver it through a pipeline directly onto VCF. But in that, and IT still gets to manage the controls, the policies, and the governance rules. Because if they don't, they'll break IT, they'll break the company. You've got to have security and controls.
Well, and also the other thing that would happen is companies would have to invest in sandboxes. They'd have to put additional dollars because they couldn't use the environments they had, which...
Well, too often that's what happens, right? And it's kind of funny that people have, kind of container environments, and I'll have my container application development environment, and then I'll have my VM ecosystem, and I'll keep them separate.
Yeah.
And just think about the cost of that.
Yeah.
That is crazy. I've got a whole set of infrastructure over here for running virtual machines. I've got a whole set of infrastructure over to run containers. Why? It's about running applications. You should have one infrastructure for actually running both. And so I think you're going to see those converge.
There's a bit of a theme on economics, though, here, too. Is that
it's always a theme.
Right. But
as VMware, that's the most important thing, I think.
It is, and it should be. Let's talk about security for a minute, just because all of this, obviously, you're bringing together a network, and you're bringing together the applications, and you're bringing together, compute, but you also have to bring security.
Yeah.
And that seems to be a big part of the story here. When you have, 9 out of the 10 largest companies in the Fortune 500 as clients, they have big security needs. Often they're in highly regulated industries.
Yes.
Just talk a little bit about kind of how you're elevating that concern, because with the tailwind of AI, you also have the tailwind of opportunities for bad actors and vulnerability.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're here in Vegas at the moment, and I don't know if you noticed the news over the weekend. I was a little surprised at it, but all the DMV offices have been shut down here for a week, and it's been shut down because of a security threat and a security vulnerability into their IT systems, and they're trying to work out how to fix it and things like that. It's insane. The number of situations where we're actually seeing security attacks into critical infrastructure is just increasing. It's not reducing. We've got to stop it. And stopping it, VCF is a really good platform. Built in, you've got, everything from identity management controls to role-based security and access controls to encryption in motion and at rest to the ability for us to segment networks and isolate things from each other. Across the board, we built a great platform on security, but we didn't stop there. We extend that with kind of operational security. With our ANS products, our advanced networking solutions, we can actually do the east-west traffic management and firewall settings to actually keep traffic isolated from one another. One of the best ways to protect runtime networks, but with identity protection, IDS and IPS capabilities to actually look for security threats that are happening in the network as they happen. And then securing the developer pipeline, which we do with our Tanzu team, who actually are working on, because you've got to look at that developer pipeline and see how you secure that. So we just added, the advanced cyber compliance to VCF. So it builds on the VCF foundation they have and brings in the ability to do compliance and trust at scale, because we've got our SALT capability to look at both application configuration and remediation of any issues there. It looks at infrastructure as well. We look at also how do we help you build healthy environments. So for those, secure, compliant-oriented industries, as you mentioned, we will actually go and audit and validate on a monthly basis to make sure that that is running correctly, and we look for any particular faults. And of course, if anything does go wrong, how do you recover from it quickly? Full VCDR, which we call as our data replication service, ability to recover from any instance and to be able to analyze anything for cyber threats and recover back to an unaffected version of the product. So that's all included in the VCF Advanced Cyber Compliance. So I think for security industries, we're taking it to a next premium level of security. You've got a great stable base platform with VCF. You've got operational network security with our firewall services and our IDS and IPS services. You have developer pipeline services to actually make sure that we don't have attacks in terms of the application pipeline, how you build applications. But you now have an assurance layer with the advanced cyber compliance to look at how do we make sure that you're running an optimal certified compliant environment and you can recover if things go wrong, all built into a very simple add-on. So it's kind of cool.
So let's tie this together and bring it home. We talked a little bit earlier about the partnerships on the compute side, specifically NVIDIA, AMD, Intel.
Yeah.
But another one that you really called out, I think they got the room excited, just all the nerds and the geeks were feeling good about this Canonical partnership.
Uh-huh.
Talk about why, kind of on that partnership strategy, share a little bit more about the Canonical strategy and why you're really doubling down on that.
Yeah, so I think it Canonical. I'm really thrilled actually with the partnership with Canonical. We're the number one platform as a cloud platform out there in the world that can work across any environment, on-prem, public clouds, service providers, but bring it together with the number one cloud OS in the world. It's the number one platform for running containers. You look at all the container environment, by far, the majority of them are running in Ubuntu. Canonical Ubuntu, they are the delivery engine for open source Ubuntu. So we're taking it, though, much further than that. Inside in VCF, you're actually getting now full Ubuntu, this trusted container runtime that you want, full support for it built into the VCF platform. Don't have to do any extra purchases of things. It's included. Support, security updates. You get long-term support for that as well. So you now have the most trusted, and you've got this very scalable Kubernetes engine. You've now got the Canonical Ubuntu engine built into the platform too. And we built customized AI images. So it's very quick for you to actually deliver AI images because all of the GPU drivers and support are built into it as well. And then the other cool thing that we've announced with them is support for chisel containers. Now, chisel container, this is where it gets really kind of geeky, but it's kind of cool. If you think about what a container is a functional part of an application. But if it's only a small functional part of an application, it doesn't need all of the different libraries that are associated with a Linux operating system. So what you do with a chisel container is you actually remove all of the other crud that you don't need, and you only keep around the absolute minimum kernel set that you need for running that container. So what have you just done there? You've actually dramatically reduced the security attack surface, and you've actually built a very optimal container runtime. And so all of that is supported. So, you get to VCF, you don't just get VKS as an integrated system. You actually get all of this supported Canonical service and a leading cloud platform. Nobody can look at this and say, my application doesn't work on VKS. Your application already does. It's based on containers, and it's based on Ubuntu containers under the covers.
Well, Paul, congratulations. That's what we like to call the big payload today.
Yeah. It's kind of a lot that we went through.
You had a lot, and I appreciate you kind of going a little deeper and spending some time with me, and have a great rest of your VMware Explore 2025.
No, thank you so much. And actually, great to catch up, and I hope you enjoy it. I hope you get to see some of the sessions and get some of the new shoes and things like that. I don't have them on, but yeah.
Years to come.
Shoes, if you do your certification. We want more and more of those experts out there to be certified.
I'll do anything for shoes.
You'll do anything for it. Thank you so much.
And thank you, everybody, for being part of this 6.5 on the road at VMware Explore 2025 here in Las Vegas. Hit subscribe. Check out all the sessions that we did here at the event. And, of course, check out all the 6.5 content. So much to learn here. But for this episode, for this show, it's time to say goodbye. See you all later.